Traditional estate planning is broken. There is this need for something new. Today, we're going to talk about modern estate planning, what that means and why it's better. So let's get into it. All right, traditional estate planning is broken. What do I even mean when I say that? So I can mean a lot of different things, to be honest with you, but in general, there's this approach to estate planning where it is transactional. It's a one-time thing. There is this particular focus on what happens when a person dies, and that is really what you're preparing for. Now, we have seen more progress, more modernization in estate and trust laws in the last 20, 30, even 40 years, especially the last 10 to 20 years though, than we've seen in the last 200, 500, however long it may be. The thing that continues to happen though is that even despite this modernization in trust laws, we haven't seen a modernization in trust strategies. And what I mean by that is that often these laws are not being incorporated into estate and trust planning. There's different reasons for that. Probably blame the attorneys. Attorneys can be very, very slow to accept new practices. And I think that often in the estate planning practice or space, it is usually older attorneys that are drawn to this practice. There is a ton of attorneys, probably 65 and older, who are in the estate planning space and they've been doing this now for 40 years. So kind of like, why are they going to pick up something that might be newer? They've been doing this for a long time. They don't really see the need to include maybe a strategy that got passed in the last 6, 7, 8 years. And part of me understands that, but the reality is we're not serving our clients' best interest because we're not including these modern strategies as options. Ultimately, it's the client who should be making the decisions, but the client should be presented with options. Well, if this is a concern, you should, consider this. Well, the consequence of that is that you would have to possibly consider this. So strategies should include options for the client. So modern estate planning. What does modern estate planning include? I think it includes 5 things. So privacy, asset protection, control, family governance, and wealth management. All right, so not in any particular order. I think those are the 5 pillars. So what's driving that is this idea is an idea of getting away from this transactional practice, getting away from this idea that estate planning really focuses on death. The reality is we're setting up structures, legal structures. So think about limited liability companies, limited family partnerships, and trust now during the client's lifetime to be able to accomplish a variety of different things. Again, asset protection, privacy, control, family governance, wealth management. These are things that occur during that first generation's lifetime. And it's not going to be well implemented if you're just focused on what happens when the first spouse passes away or the second spouse passes away or mom and dad pass away. The reality is you got to set these things up now. You got to have a firm, not just a legal structure, not just a legal plan of estate planning documents in place. You also have to have a human capital or a human structure in place that can support this legal structure that you've taken the time to craft. All right, so privacy, making sure that you are protecting your information. Along with that is asset protection. Closely related to that is asset protection, making sure that you're not opening yourself up to unnecessary lawsuits or creditors. 96% of the world's lawsuits, 94 or 96%, I can't remember exactly, of the world's lawsuits are filed here in the US. There's this entire industry, attorneys, focused on filing lawsuits and going through the civil process to be able to have these huge claims, these huge paydays against people. Wealthy clients need to have asset protection as part of their strategy and their structure during their lifetime. Flexibility and control. So creating these structures always creates this concern that you're losing control of your assets, you're losing flexibility if you set up trust. And the reality is, under modern trust laws, we have strategies to be able to unfold all of this. So you're not stuck in something that no longer works for you. So we want to create these very strong structures these strong estate plans, but we also have the flexibility and the control to continue to manage assets as well as get out of a strategy if we need to. Next, family governance. And this one is so important. I think it's so important. And I think we see it more and more and more. There was an article recently in the Wall Street Journal, say in the last month or so, since recording this video, related to family governance and how more and more wealth management groups are helping families develop family governance mission statements. So when I think of family governance, I think of legacy, I think of mission, vision, purpose for the family wealth. It isn't necessarily all about charitable giving, but it's also about what is the family's mission, what is their vision, what is their purpose for having developed this wealth, and what are they going to do with it. And all too often, wealthy families just create wealth and then they just kind of dump it over to the kids. But now we have this opportunity through sophisticated modern estate planning strategies or an approach to be able to really build this out and help a family understand what they can do, what their options are, and then again create the legal and human structures to put in place to be able to facilitate this family governance. I guess one more thing to say about that is related to the concept of wealth. So in estate planning, often you'll hear people talk about wealthy clients, moderately wealthy clients, high net worth clients, ultra high net worth clients, and how estate planners define those different segments or demographics is different than maybe how an accountant or a wealth manager or a banker or someone else might define those segments. So in general, I think often wealthy clients or high net worth clients, I should say, gets defined as anyone who is above the estate tax exemption, meaning that they have a taxable estate. When they pass, their assets are going to be subject to the federal estate tax. So in 2026, starting in 2026, we have new estate tax laws that says that the threshold is $15 million per person. So a married couple can pass up to $30 million without being hit with the estate tax. Anything over that, they're going to get hit. The reality is most Americans don't have over $30 million. A lot of them have less than $30 million. And there's a ton of people between that $5 million and that $30 million that do have not necessarily tax problems, but they have complexity because of maybe the type of assets they own, crypto, family businesses. Maybe they're, the next thing I was gonna say is there may be circumstances. Maybe they've been divorced. Maybe they're remarried. Maybe they have multiple kids. Maybe they have a child that has a substance abuse issue. It could be a variety of different things. This necessitates a conversation around purpose, legacy, mission, vision, the family governance piece. This is what sophisticated modern estate planning is about. And then lastly, wealth management. So I've started saying that you can't do effective estate planning without wealth management, and you can't do effective wealth management without estate planning. Again, I'm going to reference another Wall Street Journal article. This was more recent. There was an article about an elderly man. Despite being elderly, he unexpectedly passed away. And his wife, I think she was a PhD, very educated. She didn't know anything about their personal finances, which is very, very common. I would say it's more common than maybe it's not. And so anyway, the point of the story was that despite them being very close, having a plan in place, she didn't know where any of the accounts were. And come to find out, it took her over a year to be able to figure out where all the assets were. They had 3 financial advisors, which is very common with different folks, but they had 3 different financial advisors, and it took her a significant amount of time to even figure out where their wealth was. Can you imagine going through pain of losing your spouse, and then you have to actually figure out, where are our finances? So my point is, even if you got an estate plan in place, you may not have a wealth management plan in place that actually reflects your estate plan. You might have a wealth management plan in place. Well, I should say vice versa. You might have a wealth management plan in place that knows nothing about your estate plan, and an estate plan that knows nothing about your wealth management plan. You have to marry these two things together. Often people like this idea of using multiple wealth managers or financial advisors, and that's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But the reality is someone needs to know your estate plan other than your estate planning attorney. And your estate planning attorney cannot do effective estate planning without knowing what type of assets you have. So anyway, that's it. The modernization of estate planning laws, especially trust laws, necessitates a modern approach to estate planning. So as you think through these things, think about privacy, asset protection, control, family governance, and wealth management.